Welcome to the Woman to Woman show, where we believe truth plus transparency equals healing. Hosted by Trey Kearney, Theodora Carter, and Sheila Isom. Tonight, we have our beauty flies who will be flying into the building. We will miss Netta and Shayla tonight, but they will be back on the set as soon as possible. So, hey, beauty flies. Come on in, unmute yourself. Come on in.
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes.
Good evening. So let's.
I want my sales to run like that.
Wait a minute. What's going on? My phone just.
That's okay. So of course, we're going to start with a moment of gratitude. Welcome, Gina in the building. Don't come, don't start, no, won't be none, Gina. In the building. Welcome, Regina. Welcome tonight, ladies. Welcome. So, of course, let's start with a moment of gratitude. Just so we'll go around the room just to set the tone and, give people a minute to come in. And what are you guys grateful for today or this week so far? Let's go around the room. We'll start with Gina.
I'm actually grateful for clarity. I'm grateful for the lessons that I've learned because they help prepare me for what I need to do today.
Awesome. Come on in, Sheila.
You know what? I am grateful for friends. My husband and I had an opportunity to go visit some friends over the weekend. We got a chance to get out and hang around with another couple. And, your friends are sometimes family. So it's good to connect with them and to make sure that they're doing okay too.
Awesome. Right. Come on in, Regina, with your red lipstick on today. Put on your red dress.
Yes. High heels. Oh.
Oh, we gonna sing now.
I am grateful because my oldest son turned 30 today. So I am grateful to see my oldest turn 30.
Woo! Happy birthday. Happy birthday. You don't look over 30, girl. Come on in, Theo.
I am grateful for this book I'm reading called The Magic, which is focused on practicing gratitude for 28 days. So I'm grateful for that book because it truly is reminding me of the importance of dispelling negativity and replacing it with gratefulness, which then leads to magical things happening in your life.
Oh, share that in the group. Share that in the New You Nation group, girl. We all want to read that book. I am grateful for, I got to see my sister this weekend. She came in town just briefly for the weekend. And I got to see her on Sunday. It wasn't a long visit, but just by the grace of God, I got to see her. She's in California. And we have Michelle, who's in the chat from Southern California. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Renee. Hey, Bridget. Hey, Akbar. How y'all doing? Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure if you're watching, share. Sharing is caring. So tonight, our topic is fear, conquering fear. Woo! This is going to be a good one. And at 8:30 p.m., we will do our therapy card that Netta was so graciously gracious to send it to us to make sure we stayed on task. So let's just talk about fear. So when you think of fear, we're going to go around the room. When you think of fear, Theo, what comes to mind?
I just think of the different levels of fear, right? There's things that are external that might impact you. But for me, I think a lot when I think of fear is really those things that are internal that you tell yourself that you're unable to do because you're afraid. That, before I got to the point that I am now, right, it was you're afraid of failure, right? Or you're afraid of what people will think, right? Or you're afraid that, this mask you've been wearing of being this, strong person that, everyone will realize that you're not, right? So I think really and truly when I think of fear, I really think of just how we sometimes create these stories in our head that lead to us being more afraid of things than we really should be.
I love that. Creating stories in our heads. Sheila, come on in. When you think of the word fear, what comes to mind for you?
For me, it is allowing something, in most cases, an unknown, to take priority over my life or over something that I want to do. And whether it's a physical fear of something or a mental or emotional fear, it's something that I am allowing to dictate to me what I'm unable to do.
I love it. I just gotta say, Sheila, you looking real glowy tonight, girl. What's going on? What's going on
Thank
over
you.
there? Huh?
Listen, as we get older, we got to make sure that we're taking care of the skin.
I see, girl. What we doing over there? I'm all leaned in looking at you. You look like you got some good rest this weekend. Good party, some good. Never mind. She married, y'all. She married. Come in, Gina, when you hear the word fear. Say.
When I think of fear, similar to what Sheila said, just to go a little deeper, as a believer, we know we really shouldn't have any fear when it comes to things that we want to do or things that may seem challenging. And sometimes fear, it could be a positive thing. It keeps you alert and aware. I think when you look at fear, when it overtakes you, like Sheila said, when it stops you from moving in the direction you want to go in, or a situation you need to address, I think that's when we need to look at where's that fear coming from. And what I'm learning how to do, because I'm always learning, is to test that in God's word. What am I fearful? Is it because this is something I need to do and I'm nervous about the execution? Is it something I really shouldn't be doing? Am I doing it because of an external factor, or is this something coming from me, or is this a new venue that I'm challenged in? So when I think about fear, I think, okay, I'm a believer. I love Jehovah. I supposed to love, so where, and I know he carries me and he's been carrying me. So where's that fear coming from? So what I'm learning how to do now is be like, okay, I have a conversation. I'm learning how to have a conversation. Jehovah, I'm a little twisted about this situation. And so I'm learning how to go to the word of God versus staying in my head. Because if I stay in my head, then it's emotional gymnastics about what I'm scared of. But when I go to God's word, at least I get a focus. Like I think anything that we nervous or fearful of, there's a word from God on how to deal with that. So I'm learning how to do more of that than trying to figure it out myself, or and he'll guide me, like I'll call, I'll say what I said last night. Oh, I'm nervous. I was nervous last night and I said it. You said, well, you got a coach. So it's good to have people in your life that will help you get through those moments when you really do feel stuck, to help you get unstuck. So that's my fear thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
Come on in, Regina. What do you think when you think of the word fear?
When I think of the word fear, I think of blockage.
Oh.
There's a block. And the block, it's like it's still, as a Christian and believing in God, how do I get through that block? And sometimes it looks like that mountain is so hard and how am I going to get over it? But standing on God's word, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I can do all things through Christ that that strengthens me. So I can get through that. So I have to talk. That is funny that we talked about that, because that is one of my like things that I have to constantly get myself to. Even like making a phone call. I'm fearful of what the person on the other side is going to say. I done put the story all in my head before I done got to the thing. And then when I finally get there, it was easy. It's either a yes or no. What's the worst thing they can say is no, and you move on. So
Wow.
that I struggle with fear so much. And I'll be open with it. Like it has stopped my business. It has stopped me in relationships. It stopped me with my kids. It stopped me in my jobs. And I'm constantly battling with that fear thing.
Hmm. Thank you for your transparency. Oh my goodness, girl, you said the fear to make the phone call. How many of the listeners right now, put it in the chat. We'll see your answer. Just are afraid to make that phone call, afraid to
Mhm.
speak up for yourself, afraid to ask.
And
What?
something I wanted to just add on to what Gina said, another thing that I also try to remind myself of when it comes to fear is this acronym, right, that they have, which is false
False
evidence
evidence.
appearing real.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I literally have to stop and say, like, I just have to say that out loud. This is false evidence appearing real, right? Because like Regina said, and like I said, right, I am so quick to make up a story in my head about how something's gonna go.
Yes.
So,
I think of fear now in this season of my life. For many years, I thought I was scared of failure, but I was actually scared of success because to whom much is given, much is required. So,
Mhm.
I thought of fear as paralyzation because it would paralyze me and keep me from actually living and being my authentic self because I knew if I just was my authentic self, God would catapult me into success and it would take more of me that I didn't know if I had what it took. But now that in this season of my life, fear means step on the gas tray. Fear means something good is ahead. Fear means don't stop.
Excuse me.
Fear means you need to keep going. So anybody that's listening tonight, do it afraid. I just want to say that from the beginning of this broadcast, do it afraid. What like Regina said, what is the worst that could happen? Somebody could say no. What is the worst that could happen? And that's the question that you should ask yourself. When there is a thing that you're afraid to do, ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen? And I promise you, you will move forward faster than you thought that you could. What is one of the things that scared you just in your life in general? Like I used to have these fears, and this is funny that we're talking about this today. And I thank Sheila for bringing this topic up into our life to say we need to just talk about fear, right? Because last night Jermaine came in my bed and he came in like 4 o'clock, and last time that happened, he was sick, he was throwing up and this and that. So immediately fear gripped me, right? I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, what if he start throwing up? And then I had to say to myself, if he start throwing up, I'm gonna take him to the bathroom and put him over the toilet. Like I really just again was just a mess over something that really wasn't that big of a deal. Even if he was sick, like okay, so he's sick. So what is some of the things in your life, ladies, that shows up in a fearful way? And whoever wants to come in first, that's fine.
I can talk about it. It's funny that you mentioned your son because I was, my son is away in college, and one day last week I was on the phone with him, and it was probably about 10 o'clock, and we're talking, and all of a sudden there's dead silence on the other end. Now he's only an hour and a half away, but he's still an hour and a half away, and I kept calling his name and I got no answer. And it was driving me crazy. My heart dropped because now all of a sudden I'm thinking, because he wasn't in his room, he was in a classroom, he was doing some work. And all I'm thinking is something has happened to my child. So the the fear that something can happen to your child and you can't stop it, and all it was that there was no reception. He lost reception because he was right back. I was calling, when I tell you I was calling his name, I started calling him the Spanish pronunciation of his name. I'm calling first, middle, and last name. I go and I run. I'm on the cell phone and I go and I run and I get my house phone because now I'm ready to call campus security and jump in the car and go. And he comes back online just as calm, but it just made me think, about that like that's one of my greatest fears is something happening to my child and I can't prevent it. Even though he's an adult now, I can't stop it.
Wow. Ooh, this motherhood thing, man.
It's
Lord,
no joke.
oh my god, and it never ends. It doesn't even matter how old they are. This motherhood, and the one thing we always have to do, though, and I'm starting to learn this, that the enemy uses that for his advantage on us. So we have to learn how to, just like last night. I just was like, because I did this live, and I was like, do this and being motivated, encouraged, and I'm like, every time I try to encourage, inspire people, something like this happens. I had to even get out of my head on that, right? The level of fear that brought for me to be the person that I am and to live in my purpose and do what I'm called to do. So I just had to get out of my head. But our children, oh my goodness, it's like, woo wee, like Lord. Come on in, ladies. Fear, like, what is something that really can pop in your head and get you?
Well, I'll say I was thinking about my children, but it would take me too long because I have 4, so I'd be tripping on each one. I have to learn how to rein it in. Um, but I think one of my biggest fears comes as it relates to my business and growing my business. Um, Sometimes I have to stop looking at what other people are doing or how far they are and what they're doing and stuff like that. Because what I have, what I'm able to bring to the table is what I bring. So I'm going to bring my unique perspective on it. And I have to remember that. So when I see bakers, or I see people doing presentations or teaching young folks and stuff, and I'm like, well, they may seem to have an elevated level of delivery, but no one can deliver the way I can deliver. So I have to learn how not to get caught up in that so much so that I over prepare and then I feel stuck. Like I'm, and I talk myself out of opportunities like that. So I'm learning how to take the next step. What is the next step? So this whole year is about taking the next logical step versus allowing fear to stop me.
Ooh, do it afraid. Do it
Yep,
afraid.
do it afraid.
Gina, Theo, y'all wanted to jump in?
I'm trying to think because I'm thinking, man, I think I'm always doing something afraid. Because I will tell you, like, I'm the queen of making these stories up in my head, like for real, and so I think for me, if I was to speak right now for the present, there are probably 2 things that I would say that I don't know if I would say I'm afraid, but I'm fearful of, right? And one is, and I don't know why. And Trey, this is a thing, that live thing. Like I could have a whole conversation with people. I could like right here, right, speak my mind, but for some reason, just going live, like in the back of my head, there's like this block of all of this. I don't even know what I'm expecting, right? But the other thing is, just to keep it real, is as I've been just thinking about just getting back out into the dating world.
Oh.
Just really like apprehensive and fearful of just knowing what to do, right? Of me, just really I'm discerning, right? But just really in that area, right? Still I guess fearful about not really trusting myself when it comes to the right mate, right? Because of the ones in the past, right? And so I would say, just to be really transparent and honest, I think right now for me, if we were talking about right now, one would be just like getting back out into the dating world. And I'm really just like Gina said, I'm really this year when it comes to like my business, really just trying to move through the things that I'm fearful about that are going to hinder me from growing my businesses in the way that I want to grow them.
Wow. That whole dating thing, girl. Woo. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. See, my fear is I'm seeing folks on. I can't even watch the news or even Facebook with this person that killed their girlfriend.
Mhm.
This person, and I'm just like, yo, if you could do that to somebody you love, like, what's the chances of me? Right out here in these dating streets, I'm like at home, like, you know what? I don't even know what to do because what would make you get that mad that you would, kill your child's mother and then throw your child in the river? Like, these the people out here in these dating streets? Like, oh no, like so.
Yeah, but that's the other thing, right? Really, like, because people are not always who they appear to be, right? And and so then you're like, okay, they show up one way. It's like really getting past the representative.
Yes, come on in, Regina.
I think one of my fears was actually being a co-host here. That's like because I'm the behind the scene girl. But I thank God for Trey because she pushed me, and now Theo is in the same state, around the corner from me, and Theo even pushed me more. We gonna get this retreat going. I was like, I just have a conversation with you. She done got a whole thing up and got people asking people. So it's like it's pushing me to face my things that I know I can do. And now I'm no longer because there's people that I'm accountable to. So now I have to face this fear. So this was real scary for me to just come on and because I don't even do lives on Facebook. So,
Well, listen here. I tell you one thing. If you rolling with me, you're gonna do some stuff.
yeah.
You're gonna do some stuff because you going where I go, I'm going where you go. We gonna make some things happen.
Yeah. And I like when I told you guys last night, this guy reached out to me and I thought it was a scammer and it was actually a business opportunity. And Trey, you said they probably saw you from the show because I'm like, I don't know where he came from.
Yes.
He was really a legit person that had some good information that was helping me. And I was like, wow, just being out here. So now I see by putting myself out, I don't know who's watching this. But it was scary for me.
That right there, Regina. Just that right there, that fear of where did this person come from? Right? See, whatever made you afraid of him. These are the things that we have to conquer because fear is a lot of times the first reaction that we have. There is an opportunity, like the fear of what if I do get the opportunity, or the fear of what if I don't get the opportunity. But either way, the best thing we can do is, like I said, for me in this season is stepping on the gas, stepping my foot on the gas until I get what I want, until I get to where I'm going, until I get what I need. I am not stopping. Okay, so I want us to give some people some tips. What is one tip when you feel afraid that you actually do? So we'll go with Gina first. What is something that you can do when you feel fear?
First, I would pause. Sometimes the gut reaction, you may be nervous, but just pause. Give yourself, I call it the 3-second rule. Just take 3 seconds to catch a beat and to think about what that thing is. It could be maybe you're going to have a meeting with your boss or you're going to have a meeting with a client. So think about the positive outcomes. Think about, what you already know. And we usually anticipate a negative. Try anticipating a positive, or at the very least, anticipate your ability to handle the situation. So give yourself a 3-second rule before you just say, oh no, I can't, or oh my goodness. Just pause. The 3-second rule, you just pause, give yourself a chance to catch your breath. Don't anticipate a negative, and anticipate that you can handle that situation, whatever that situation is, that you have enough, that you are enough to handle that situation.
Thank you. That was so good. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna use that for myself now, girl. Thank you so much, Gina. Gina always got something for us. Gina be reading books and doing psychology. I know you do, Gina. I know I'll be peeping in your window. Theo, what are some tips on conquering fear?
So I'm gonna actually address the one that Jem in the chat had said, because it's staying, like, she said, she makes up stories, right, of getting left and so afraid of being left, and she's in her head. And I'm gonna deal with that because, like I said, I'm the queen of making up stories in my head. So one of the things that I've really had to do is, like Gina said, like I had to, just stop, pause, take a step back, and then really just think about it as, first of all, girl, get out of your head, because you done created this whole fantasy tale. You done went down a rabbit hole, and you just need to move forward. And then I also remind myself of what you just said, right? The worst that could happen is they say no, right? Or they say yes, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't move forward, you're never going to know. And so one of the things I tell myself is I want to move forward because I don't want to be in that situation of saying, what if? Right. And so once I process, but I think what Gina said is really, really true. You do have to pause and take some time to evaluate the situation. And then I just remember in the back of my head that regardless of what happens, my favorite scripture, whatever happens, it will be for my good. Right? And then that helps me to push through. That helped me to push through it right in the chapter in the book that I wasn't sure what I was going to put in the chapter, right? That helped me with moving forward with starting 2 businesses, and right now about to even, explore another business opportunity that came my way, right? That is definitely going to take me out of my comfort zone of being behind the scenes, right? And so I would say in reality is one, like Gina said, stop, process it, get out of your head, and then just recognize that at the end of the day, whatever happens, it's going to ultimately be for your good.
I love it. I love it. Sheila, come and give us some tips on how you conquer fear.
Sometimes just doing some traditional methods help out a lot. Writing down a list of the pros and the cons, right? Think about first what's stopping you and why, and then put it on paper, because that visualization always helps. Write your list of the pros and cons, but then don't just write them. Think about each one of them and what the effects of them are. And that definitely helps. And then again, you have that list that's in front of you, and then walk away from it, because you may turn around and have to add something to one of the sides or take something away from one of the sides. And then that will help you actually realize exactly why you are not taking that step or that leap forward.
That's good stuff. Come on in, Regina.
Okay. What I find out when I'm dealing with fear, and what's been working for me since I've been really trying to conquer it, is full court press.
Yes.
Pick up your phone, don't think about it. And it's really phone calls with me. I seem to do kind of better with people, but just picking up that phone call, asking, I used to, if I sit down and think about it, and then I'll be in my head again. I'll talk myself all the way out. So I'll pick up the phone. I pray while I'm dialing that number. And as soon as they answer, I just spill it out. So that's what's been working for me, just a full court press. Right.
I love that. I'm just going to say, I accept the fact that some things ain't going to work out. I really have gotten to the point of when I'm fearing something, I've accepted the fact that I'm able to fail forward, right? Like, okay, so if it doesn't work, I'm going to make it work, right? It's not going to be a fail because I'm going to make it work. The only way I could fail at anything is if I stop. It might take me longer because the fear for me was the fear of not being successful. There is no way for me not to be successful. So that is how I conquer fear. That is how I deal with fear. I just make sure that I tell myself failure is not an option. You're not going to fail. You're going to fail forward. So let's go to the next question. And why don't we go to our therapy card? So Netta gave us our therapy card. Let's go to our therapy card. On a scale of 0 to 10, do you trust yourself to create the change you want?
I would say 9. Yeah.
That's good.
Because I literally am in a space of doing that right now. And that's because I did the work. Was I always like that? No. If you would have asked me this like 2-3 years ago, I probably would have been like 3 to 5, maybe. But because I have really done the work, therapy, coaching, I would say right now, I definitely am in that space, because the other thing is that's what I'm trying to help other women do. I'm trying to help other women recognize that you can literally create the life that you want to create. And so I really am in a space that right now that I trust myself to do it, which is why I'm making some of the moves that I'm making right now.
Wow, that is awesome. Let's go to Sheila. On a scale of 0 to 10, do you trust yourself to create the change you want?
Yes, I trust myself, but I'm going to put myself at a 7, mainly because I'm doing the work to start putting things in place, like being a part of the New You Nation. The problem is that I'm gathering the information, and I'm contacting, I'm contacting and make note of my resources, but then I put it aside, and I may start doing something else, or I may be focusing on my main job or something with the house, or the marriage stuff, something like that, and not getting back to where I'm supposed to be. I may add to it, but I'm not taking the time to actually focus and put in the work that's necessary.
That's so good. Oh my goodness. Come on in, Regina. On a scale of 0 to 10, do you trust yourself to create the change you want?
I'm like Sheila. I trust myself, but I'm not there because I am doing the work. So I would say I'm at a 6 because I'm pushing myself to new things, and it's still scary to me. But the good part about it is I do get up and I make that step. As scary as it is, I make the step. So it's a work in progress, but I'm
Mm,
trusting myself that I will get there.
I love that. Come on in, Gina.
I think I will put myself at a 7. And my reason for the 7 is because most of my adult life has been being a mom, being a spouse. I've been a lot of different titles. Now I'm an empty nester, right? My last daughter's graduating this year, and so I have to work towards what I want. But now I'm flushing out that vision. What does that look like for me? So I am willing to put in the work. And I do believe I have what it takes to make it happen, but I also accept and acknowledge that I have more work to do. And that's why I give myself that 7, because there is room for me to grow in that space.
Wow. I'm going to say I give myself, I'm between a 7 and an 8. It depends on what change I'm trying to make. I trust myself in a lot of areas of my life, but I'm trying to grow in the area of my parenting still, because I have a special needs child, and still because my other children, in that area can trigger me to be afraid, right? So I'm still growing in that area of creating the change of not worrying about my children, right? Having complete faith in God that there's nothing that's gonna they're covered, nothing's gonna happen to them. So I fall between like a 7 and an 8. And again, because we all have room to grow. So the task that goes along with this for the people who are listening, and if you want to put your score in on a scale of 0 to 10, do you trust yourself to create the change that you want? Right? Put your score in on a scale of 0 to 10. Do you trust yourself to create the change that you want in your life? And the task tonight is make a list of what is getting in the way of you being able to trust yourself.
Okay.
Make
And
a
so I have to change my answer because my answer has to be 2 parts. So on the career and the professional side, I'm a 9. But on the personal side, because I still have that little fear about the dating stuff, I would say that I'm probably at a 7.
So with that being said, ladies, make a list of what is getting in the way of you being able to trust yourself. Is there anything anybody else would want to share of something on your list that is in a way of you being able to trust yourself?
Okay. Transparency.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Now look, this is in perpetuity, so y'all gonna hear this and then it's gonna come back someday. But here's the truth. When you used to doing stuff for everybody else, for me, I'm used to doing stuff for everybody else. The excuse or the fallback was, oh, I gotta run for my children, I gotta run do something for my family or for work. When you are stepping out doing your own thing, your own business, there's levels to that, y'all. So sometimes that fear that I have to just learn how to put one step forward to do the next best thing, that grips me because I'm like, well, I could pray hard for my children. I pray hard for, sustaining me in my marriage and stuff like that. But now when it comes to me personally, Regina, you know, it's like, where is everybody? And I'm looking around, it's like, no, sis, where's you?
Oh,
So I have to learn how to show up for me the way I showed up for all the people that I love and care about.
wow.
And that's the stuff, that's the biggest challenge that I have is stepping up for me. Because I could be your listener, I could be your supporter, I can even give you that kick in love when you need it, but I have to learn how to step up for Regina.
Hmm.
I have to learn to have that voice for me the way I am as an advocate for other people. I have to be that for myself.
Wow. That's huge, Regina. That is really transparent.
Yeah.
And I think that us being here having these conversations that we all have room to grow in our lives when it comes to trusting ourselves, just to be able to trust ourselves. Because as Black women and as women of a certain age, we've been through so much, right? So in some areas of our life, that trauma will show up. And Renee said it in the chat. Those triggers will show up, right? Those triggers will come. Those
Yeah.
triggers tell us, you can do this. And when you're in the moment of doing it and you trust yourself, those triggers will come and say, no, you can't. No, you can't. And we have to fight that to make sure that we are not self-sabotaging, right?
Right.
Because a lot of times it is just self-sabotage to say I don't trust myself because of an experience that I had. And I always say this, that experiences were not meant to mold us. They were meant to teach us a lesson. So whatever experience that we had, we were to learn from that, not to be molded from it to carry it on in other areas of our life. So this is so good. How do you recognize fear?
Like like a punch in the gut.
I,
When I
I
Go
would say
ahead.
it's that, and I think also you kind of like for me, I'm all over the place. Like my mind is like all over the place, and I start to get easily distracted because I'm trying to avoid that thing that I'm fearful of. So I start distracting myself with other stuff,
Wow.
right? That keeps me from really doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Ooh,
I'll find a reason, like right, why I can't do that thing that I'm supposed to be doing because there's something that I'm kind of hesitant about. And so that's when I know that whatever, like I get stalled. So that's when I know that I might be fearful of something.
Ooh-wee.
Because I'm not as focused as I normally am.
Yes, that paralyzation. That's what happens to me. Fear paralyzes me, but I'm overcoming that by saying, no, you're going to do it afraid. When that feeling rises up in me now, I'm stepping on the gas because that's the only way I could do it in order to keep moving. That is the only way that I can do it. Sheila?
It's interesting that what Theo said, distraction. It made me think about, fear is a distraction. And instead of actually facing it, you look for another distraction. That's easier to do because it's like if I get, I know that I'm confronted with this, I don't want to deal with it now, so I'll go do that instead. So distraction actually works both ways.
And it's so true, like Alvin said in the comments, right? You recognize fear because you procrastinate anxiety and keep putting things off.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Go ahead, Regina. Go ahead.
I start projects. I invent some projects. So I guess it's the same thing. So rather than do something, I'm going to invent something new. You didn't even finish your first thing. So now you're going to invent something new that'll have nothing to do. And it's a distraction because whatever you're inventing, like I might invent, let me go or serve people, serve some. Now I'm going over here and help this person. This person that never asked you to come help them. So you over there, minding their business. And I mean, it's a help. You're helping them, but you're avoiding what you need to be done, getting yourself up.
Wow.
So I find myself, and then a person, if you're helping them, they're going to let you help them, but they didn't really ask you to, but you're helping them to build their castle, their riches, their businesses. And you sitting here in yours on the side, you're cheerleading them along.
Wow. I love that. I love that because I've been in that situation and many times in my life at a younger age of working for other people because I thought that they were great. So I thought I was attached to the greatness that I will be okay, right? Because the fear of success will paralyze you too. So many of us say, oh, the fear of failure, the fear of failure. When 9 times out of 10, it really is the fear of success, of not knowing if you're capable of that stretch. That stretch is really scary, of going into unknown territory of something you've never done before. So opportunities may come and we may pass them up because the fear of success, right? That stretch. Sheila, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think we're also afraid of defining what success is for us. Normally, you equate success with money, right? And lots of it, or being surrounded by a lot of people, or being the one person that everybody goes to, that everybody likes. But if you sit back and think about what success is for you, then that will help you start taking that step towards that causes you fear.
Oh, that's good. That is good. So if you're tuned into the Woman to Woman show. We're talking about conquering our fears or conquering your fear. What makes you afraid? Do it afraid. If you are tuned in on YouTube, please share, comment. If you're tuned in on Facebook, please share. Sharing is caring. Identifying your fears. Recognize that fear can work for you to your advantage. I'm just giving some tips here. Sit with your fear and figure out why you're afraid of that thing. Create goals that are a must. I must do this, and it will catapult you into conquering that fear. Recognize your excuses. We just talked about that. And accept that you will fail. Accepting that you will fail is one of the biggest things. And we read that book, Failing Forward, as a group, and recognizing that you cannot fail, you can only fail forward unless you stop, was a major defining moment for us. That there is no failure, that we are just going to move forward. It may not turn out the way you want it the first time, but all you have to do is change the ingredients. And in Gina's voice, if that cake don't taste good, you ain't put enough sugar. Or if that cake don't taste good, maybe you didn't have the right butter. And when you are in a space of fear, right? Ask the person for help, right? Gina, ask. If Gina is a baker, if Gina is a chef, then when we fear doing something in that category or that area, we must ask for help. Come on in, Gina.
I think we sometimes get overcome with our own visions, and we say, wow, it seems so far off, right? Because you want to achieve certain levels, and then you start backtracking, and you start, instead of looking at the reasons why you start looking at what may go wrong. And I keep saying, this year my goal is just to take the next step. I've already done some things where I saw what worked. Some things didn't work, but I said, you know what? I'm not quitting. I I I don't have the luxury to quit, because if I quit, I'm the only one that can bring out what I want brought out. So I have to do it, even when I'm doing it afraid. Sometimes the fear make me not take the big step, but I'm still going to take a step. I'm still going to move in the direction I need to go into, even if I don't have people cheering me on. Sometimes your fear is, will people around you support you? Will you have that team? Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Sometimes you just have to. Well, that song says, encourage yourself. Y'all don't want me to sing it, so I'm not. But it's a really good song. Encourage yourself. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself, whether it's remembering a verse, scripture, if you're a believer, um, if it's remember someone that you respect and admire and look at how they overcame different things. But find something to encourage yourself when you are in that fear mode. And I'm just learning, maybe I can't take the big steps that I want, but I'm going to keep taking steps, because I have to do it. It's not an option for me to quit.
I mean, that's good. I mean, I think that's really good, because I think along with that is also, right, recognizing your why, right? So one of the things, right, that I heard you, like, you've definitely clarified in your mind your why, right? And so every time you think about stopping or stalling or getting stuck, right, that why is going to come up, which is going to make you move forward, right? And encourage yourself. Like, that's one of my favorite songs. Like that, I think it's so powerful, because we spend so much time encouraging others. Like, I can tell somebody what to do, how to do it, give them advice, do all of this. And like the other day, I was talking to somebody, and when I finished talking, I was like, well, Dawn, you just told them everything that you should be telling yourself. Right? Like, why is it so easy to encourage everybody else and tell everybody else and help everybody else move past their fear, but you standing here stuck, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's really super cool that you have made that decision to take the next step, and I think we all have, right? Which is why we're
Yes.
here. Because I think I'm like Regina, right? This is not me. I'm so comfortable being in the back, like, to where I just be back here. So this is huge for me to be here, be on this platform, being transparent, right?
Yeah.
About just fear. And like I said earlier, like, I'm really about to explore this new initiative. And it definitely is going to take me out of my comfort zone. But you know what? I'm all in, because in the back of my mind is my why.
Yes.
Right? Like, my why is to not have to be working for somebody else into my 60s and 70s, right? Like, I'm really, really pushing and pressing towards that full-time entrepreneurship, right? And so
Right.
that means that I have to continue to just take those steps. I have to continue to tell myself I can do it. But also, something you said earlier, Gina, was I have to stop looking at everybody else and what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And another conversation that me and my niece and I had is also, we have to dispel this, strong Black woman myth, right? That we have to put this whole thing out, like we don't need help and we can do everything by ourselves, right? And learn how to ask for help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I also think we need to dispel that failure is not an option, because as we were talking about before, you fail forward.
Yeah.
Failure is a learning tool.
Yeah.
Failure is a part of life, and maybe it's not even failure in some instances, but don't be afraid, because that gives you the ammunition, the gumption, so to speak, to move in another direction. So failure is not a bad thing. It is a life lesson. It is a business lesson or a personal lesson. So we need to dispel that and turn that notion around, that once you fail, or that you are no longer worthy, or that it doesn't matter, or that you simply can't do it, and you give into that fear.
And one thing too, I wanted to just say, let me jump in and say, it's okay to be afraid.
Yeah.
Who said we can't be afraid, right?
Right.
It's okay to be afraid. And the thing about being afraid is, it's okay to be afraid, but do it afraid, right? Let fear be your fuel, right? Instead of it stopping you on your checklist, let fear be the fire that fuels you to move forward and complete the task at hand, and to live your best life. And I just want everybody who's listening right now to understand that we are going to be afraid, but we have to turn that fear around, right? We have to turn that fear around. If you're a believer, you have to say, do I have room for fear and faith at the same time? So I have a choice to make here. I'm either going to be fearful or I'm going to be faithful. And my choice, once I stop and pause, like Gina said, my choice and my conscience will tell me, you know better and you need to have faith. You were about to say something, Theo?
Yeah, I was going to say the other thing is, and actually, I'm going to take it back to being a believer, right? Jesus went to the cross afraid, right? He what did he say before he got on that cross, right? He said, God, take this cup away from me, right? But if this is what you would have for me, this is what I'm going to do, right? And so like Sheila said, like Gina said, that we just have to do it afraid, because that's the thing. Fear is the thing that is supposed to propel you forward. It is a lesson, right? It gets you to that place of, like, this might not be something that's going to feel good, but on the other, and I think I put this somewhere yesterday on one of my posts, right, where I say, whatever you're going through, whatever you're fearful about right now may not feel good, but on the other side of that, it's going to be amazing. Right. And so when you think about on the other side of that, when you push through, when you press through, when you see the end result of that thing you were so afraid of going after, it's going to be amazing.
Woo! Somebody is preaching like it's Sunday. Come on, somebody is preaching like Sunday. And they always say this too. We often hear this, so we got to remember this. Your dreams are outside of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
If your dream does not scare you, it is not your God-given dream or your God-given purpose. Because if you could do it by yourself, it's not from God. So it should scare you. You should be afraid if you have your big audacious goal that you are trying to accomplish. You should be afraid. You should be very afraid, but you should also know that through that fear, you will conquer this. And again, everything that you want and everything that you dream of is outside of that comfort zone. And you know what's outside of the comfort zone? Fear, being afraid. Because in your comfort zone, you ain't scared. You're like, oh, I got this. And you just staying complacent in your comfort zone. So let's give our final thoughts, because we are at 8:54. So we'll go around the room and we'll start with you, Regina. Give a final thought, tip, tool, or just something you want to share with our audience about fear.
As you said, just get out of your comfort zone. And a couple of things people said: sit in it, for me, I sat in it, but just get out of it, explore it, push forward, and you will, like I say, only thing they can say is no or yes. Is it going to kill you? Are you going to lose your life? Are you not going to have where to live after this? But just push forward in it, and you will conquer it.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Who else wants to come in next with your final thought?
It's okay to feel the way you feel, you know, but don't get stuck there.
Yeah.
And sometimes you may feel like, you know, you don't have a lot of people around you, but you really don't need a lot of people around you because guess what? It's not their dream, it's yours. It's your responsibility to bring it forward. So you may not have the cheerleaders in your corner. They may not see the vision the way you see it, but they're not going to because it was not made for them. It was uniquely given to you. So once you own what's yours to have, you just take the next logical step, one step at a time.
One step at a time. Come on in, Sheila. You have your final thought?
Yes. Let your faith guide you.
Mm.
Don't fall back on fear, not when you've got your faith, because your faith is stronger than that fear.
That was good. Come on, Theo.
Oh, so I'm going to say definitely, right? Not only do you have to get out of your comfort zone, but you have to stop letting people keep you in your comfort zone, right? Because people will, especially when you share, right, what you're doing, which is why I don't really share a lot of what I'm doing. I just do it. But people will keep you in your comfort zone. So I would say, one, you have to get out of your comfort zone, but you also have to allow people not to keep you in your comfort zone because people will put their fear on you. And so I would say definitely get out of your comfort zone because how many of us have stayed in a job that we dreaded going to, right? Because we were comfortable. Like we showed up there every day. We knew what we had to do. We could do it with our eyes closed. And so we stayed there because we were comfortable because we didn't want to be stretched, right? So I would say get out of your comfort zone. Look forward to being stretched. But most importantly, don't let other people keep you in your comfort zone by telling you that what you're looking to do is something that you're not able to do.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to say, again, do it afraid. And I'm going to piggyback off of what Theo said. Don't let people inflict their fears on you. The fear that they can't do it, the fear that it can't be done because they are not you and you are not them. Don't share your dreams with small-minded people because they will make you afraid. They will talk you out of it, being that they're afraid to go on their path, their destiny, their journey of greatness, and they will suck you right into that fear. You will be on a high, and they will put you on a low and say, "Girl, you can't do that," and they will make you afraid. So be careful who you share your dreams, your goals, your aspirations with, and just make sure you are in line with like-minded people who will tell you, I know you scared, Trey. I know you scared, Theo. I know you scared, Sheila. I know you scared, Gina. I know you scared, Regina. But girl, you could do it, and I got your back. I'm going to pick you up when you fall, and I'm going to push you forward when you fall back. We could do this together. So get you a team of people around you that push, promote, and love on you. So you're tuned into the Woman to Woman show. We thank you so much for tuning in. We don't take that lightly. It's a privilege to be in your life.
Yes.
On Instagram at W2W show. Please subscribe to the New You Nation Network channel and don't forget to share. Sharing is caring. Again, we believe that truth plus transparency equals healing. Remember, you are only as sick as your secrets. It's healing time. We'll see you next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Woman to Woman show. on the New You Nation Network. Ciao, beauty flies.
Thank you.
Sister, I'm